Much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mika Says Sukas, and of course, as always, I'm your humble host, Niko House. Before we get started, just want to remind everybody that on Thursdays, I will be exclusive on Rockfin. I will be posting exclusively to Rockfin, and I have a premium live stream for all my Rockfin premium members on Rockfin as well. Now, maybe you didn't endorse me, but you've endorsed the Convo Couch, or maybe Graham Elwood, or Ron Placone on Rockfin. That's fine, as long as you're a premium Rockfin member. You will be able to watch that 2-hour live stream from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But even if you are not a premium member on Rockfin, you can still watch all the free content that I will be putting there on Thursday as well. So, Reed Shield, you said that the audio is working now. Well, okay, well, good stuff. Glad to hear it. So let me just start off by saying, duh. I mean, yeah, we know that Biden isn't likable. Yeah, we know that Trump is considered a populist by a lot of people. Yeah, we know that the DNC sucks. We know all this. So before we even get started with addressing the headline, let me just say, duh. Why? Because the headline reads as follows. A new poll, it was conducted by ABC. It suggests that many Bernie supporters are going to be voting for Trump over Joe Biden come November of 2020. Now, here's an excerpt from the article that says Trump is, it says he still has a strong rating on the economy, and it's another challenge for Biden. And so is this. Among Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents who prefer Bernie Sanders for the nomination, 15% said they back Donald Trump over Joe Biden in the fall. Wow. These aren't conservative-leaning Democrats, people, which a lot of whom were going to, or either did vote or were going to vote for Bernie Sanders in this primary and did vote for Bernie Sanders in the last primary. In New Hampshire, in the last primary, over 70% of independents voted for Bernie. If you know anything about New Hampshire, they fly all over the damn political spectrum, but a lot of them are conservative-leaning independents. So these are just voters who identify or are registered as Democrat or Democratic-leaning independents. 15% said they're going to vote for Trump. And let me tell you something. If this poll is even close to being true, 15% of pro-Bernie Sanders voters is not as tiny as you may think. It is not a minority like many people have been fooled into believing. Do not look at the results. The results have been illegitimate. The voting machines are being manipulated. Election rigging is being ignored, etc., etc., etc. I'm talking about the real numbers for Bernie Sanders. I'm talking about over 1 million volunteers. I'm talking about over 1 million unique individual donors. Okay? I'm talking about one of the broadest coalitions on the left that you have ever seen. I'm talking about concerts that have 35,000 people. Not concerts, but they might as well be. Rallies that have concerts in them that have like 35,000 people. This is the reality of a Bernie Sanders campaign. And once again, if you want to go by those metrics in history, that shows the numbers for Bernie are probably, as far as the results are concerned, are greatly underrepresented. There are many people who consider themselves to be independent. 44% of the country, actually. When you combine that with disaffected Democrats who may still be registered as Democrats, but are instead choosing to vote for someone other than Biden because of the way they've been treated, it is no surprise to me that 15% of these people would vote for Trump just to give a middle finger to the Democratic Party. I've met Trump supporters who say, well, I actually disagree with him on this issue. I disagree with him on this issue. I've met Trump supporters who disagree with him, at least the way the Republicans are running it, on healthcare. I've seen Trump Republicans who disagree with the way he's handling foreign policy. They wish he would be more hands off, and more anti-interventionist than he has been. And guess what? They're still walking around with a MAGA pin on. And you know what? The reason I was told having the Trump pin on, the MAGA hat on, or whatever. You know what the reason I was told? And I was told this multiple times by several different Trump supporters. Because we hate the Democratic Party. That's why. Ultimately, we put up with a lot of tomfoolery, chicanery, nonsense from Donald Trump and the Republicans because we don't have to guess what they'll do. The Democrats, we know how they get down. That's crazy. That's how much disdain a good portion of the country has for the Democratic Party and the candidates they select to nominate. Because ain't no damn way in hell you just can't convince me that Joe Biden has more votes than Bernie Sanders. There's nothing you can do to convince me of that. When he is more unpopular, right? He's more unpopular than Hillary Clinton. He actually has less enthusiasm for him, according to this. It's the lowest in 20 years for any Democratic presidential nominee, according to ABC's own polls, which favors establishment candidates. Now, why would Bernie Sanders voters be so quick to give Joe Biden the middle finger? And more specifically, why would they turn around and give that middle finger to Biden while simultaneously voting for Trump? Well, there are a lot of people who believe that this could be the end of the Democratic Party. A lot of people who want control of their party back. Right? So maybe they're not independent. They may be independent minded, but they're Democrats and they want to remain a Democrat because they feel like they have a right to influence their party. And I can completely respect that. Now, some people truly believe that as long as they continue to maintain power and placate the masses by presenting a face who's basically a nice but worse version of Donald Trump in somebody like Joe Biden, a lot of those people would vote for Trump just so the Democrats would basically run out of funding, lose power, age out. And some people would vote for Trump in hopes that the Democrats would begin to pivot in the direction, the populist direction, that a lot of people would demand them to. They would do it out of spite. They would do it just because they recognize and understand how dangerous the Democratic Party can be when they put up somebody like Joe Biden and then they win, running on promises. Granted, Joe Biden hasn't run on many good promises. His main promise is, hey, nothing's going to change, people. That's why you should select me. Nothing's going to change. At least, Trump wanted to go back to a time where America was great. He's like, things are going to change, but it's going to change back to what it was. At least he offered some type of change because clearly everybody's pissed at status quo. And status quo Joe has not figured this part out yet. So instead he says, well, nothing will change. And that's one thing that you can count on. It's not a good thing, Joe. That's what people want. People do want change. They don't know necessarily what kind of change they want, but they damn sure know they want something different than the status quo. But when the Democrats get somebody like Obama, get somebody like Bill Clinton, and then they use those pretty faces, right? Those charming personalities to pass things like the Affordable Health Care Act. Now, we know because of the Affordable Care Act, we now see small businesses having to fire employees because of the mandates on small businesses by the Affordable Care Act. Like, these are the type of things that get pushed through. The 94 crime bill with Biden and Clinton. Bill Clinton obviously was a president who ran on being tough on crime, but because he had a charming face and he played the saxophone, everybody forgot. That is a danger. And then, of course, who suffers because of that? There are Democrats who run locally, who run for their state legislators, who suffer across the board. Why? Because people associate the actions of Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, even AOC, where there are some populist conservative or some populist, maybe even left-leaning independents like myself who don't like AOC, but they're not as educated as somebody like myself, and so they just group lazily every action or every talking point or every position of a local Democrat who may be running on great policy. They associate everything they do with the Democratic Party at large, and it hurts those people trying to affect change in their own community. So you see a lot of these Bernie supporters, in my humble opinion, who would rather see the Democratic Party fail, punish them, so that there would be some sort of consequence for constantly screwing over the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. That's where most people are at right now. Now understand, there is like a huge margin of error in that particular poll. I want to say it's about 4 to 5%, which means there could be almost 20% of Bernie supporters who would vote for Trump rather than Biden. Because a lot of people, they feel like they would do that, but they haven't made up their mind yet. Or at least they don't want to tell anybody because they feel like they may be judged. And yes, you will get judged for answering a poll the wrong way. As a former Tulsi surrogate and still a current Tulsi supporter, there are plenty of people who have told me, including Pasta Jardula from the Convo Couch, that they get hung up on, you get ignored. They will force you to pick somebody else instead, saying that a particular candidate isn't an option. Like, there are a lot of people who will judge you right there as you speak to them while they're polling you, depending on what your answer is. Thank you for the super chat, Valdis Mosley. Bingo. I definitely plan on giving the DNC my middle finger in November. I'm not surprised. Appreciate the super chat. Todd Southern. Reagan Dems caused hate in the rust and grain belts. Absolutely, 100%. Always appreciate your perspective. Found out my mom watches you as well. What? That's crazy. Tell your mama said hello. And I appreciate it. That's dope. Love that, man. Everybody should just gather around the table and just put on some Mikasa and Sukasa while y'all eating dinner. Give a big ass middle finger to CNN and MSNBC. But yeah, man, it's not all that surprising to me. It shouldn't be all that surprising to anybody. And I don't believe that people, if you think that shaming Bernie supporters into not voting for Trump is going to work, okay, so you really do not understand how Bernie supporters work. It's just not how they work. It's not how they operate. In fact, the more you say you better not vote for Trump, there is an increased likelihood of Bernie supporters voting for Trump. Just saying. But Biden should be kind of fortunate. He should consider himself to be fortunate because there were about 90, it was like 10%. So 1 in 10 Bernie supporters, Bernie voters from 2016 voted for Donald Trump in 2020. 1 in 10. So at least you're a little bit more popular than, is my math wrong? Oh no. Oh, that's not good actually. My apologies, everybody. Not good at math. Because I think that it actually means that is a possibility of more people voting for. I think it actually might mean that more people might be voting for Trump compared to as when Hillary ran. Ugh, awkward. Sorry. Just kidding. There's no bright side to this. I guess your bright side should be that 25% aren't voting for Trump in November. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of because this ain't looking pretty. This is not looking pretty for Biden. And what comes next if the Democrats lose? I hope it's better for democracy. But it's just people, I don't know. I see people kind of twisting themselves into this pretzel that Joe Biden actually has a chance to beat Donald Trump. I just I don't understand. Like, y'all know I love Michael Tracy. I usually agree with Michael. I don't agree with this. It's like this weird, so I won't call it optimism for Biden because I feel like Michael Tracy is a pessimist or a skepticist right? So he's skeptical of the Biden, the anti-Biden logic. That's what he's skeptical about. Not necessarily, not that he's optimistic about Biden's chances, but he's skeptical of the passion of those anti-Biden people, and if they're actually correctly surveying the field of the election, or is it their biases coming into play? Well, I can tell you this: I don't have Biden derangement syndrome, and I'm telling you, objectively speaking, Hillary Clinton was demolishing Trump in every poll in 2016, and had a infrastructure that was unlike any we had ever seen after blowing through $1 billion with the ability to campaign. Granted, we know she chose to not campaign in some states, but nonetheless, she still campaigned for a general election more so than Biden may be able to given this coronavirus situation. The difference is, can Biden use the internet to his advantage? And then, of course, can he use it to his advantage in such a way that he could potentially use it in a better way than Trump? And that's just a no. Trump's internet ecosystem is insane. His infrastructure is grassroots. I don't give a damn if y'all want to believe it or not. This is reality, right? This is something that Bernie Sanders was definitely going to have to deal with come 2020, and his staff is very aware of it. That's why they campaign so hard online, even this go around. Trump is a different animal. When you're talking about marketing yourself, when you're talking about taking advantage of the opportunities given to you, it doesn't always work out well for us as people. But for Trump, he always gonna make the decision that best suits Trump, no matter what happens. In Trump's online game, if Joe Biden he's already losing ground every single day in these recent polls to Trump. He can't campaign online like Trump. He can't give a press conference like Trump. He doesn't have he's not as graceful on camera, if you will, as Trump is. He's not as entertaining as Donald Trump is. What's he going to argue? That his policies are better than Donald Trump? What policies are better than... Bro, at the end of the day, like, you want to really compare policies. Like, because it's not a soul on this planet. I will debate anybody. If you want to argue who would be a better president, Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And y'all know I don't like either one of them. But I guarantee you, not a person with no single neoliberal in his or her right mind would sit in front of this camera or sit across the desk from me and argue that President Biden could be a better president than a President Trump. There's not a single person who would do it. They'd argue with some MAGA hatter on their side, hoping that they're not educated on policy. But they're not gonna sit here and argue with me over that. You know why? Because if you bring up the kids in cages, I could easily just as easily bring up, Biden was part of the administration who created the infrastructure to put these kids in cages. And also, by the way, there were kids in cages before Trump got in office. So there's that. People would argue that. And I would just say, look, they're kind of breaking even there. They were both horrible on immigration. So, next. They'll claim, I don't know, Trump is racist against black people. When I'm black, everybody assumes that I'm supposed to hate Trump. Except for 94 crime bill. Literal segregationists. Work with other literal segregationists. Compare that, if you want to talk about criminal justice reform, with the First Step Act, which Trump worked with Democrats, actually Tulsi Gabbard was one of them, to help reduce the recidivism rate and give felons a second chance. Got a lot of felons out of jail through that executive order. Whereas Joe Biden doesn't even express empathy, sympathy, or sorrow for anything that 94 crime bill caused. Biden championed TPP. Biden champions NAFTA. Trump challenges TPP. Trump got rid of TPP and challenged NAFTA, although that second NAFTA isn't really, I don't really like it. Better than what the hell Biden was pushing for, though, because at least it brought some jobs home. I just don't understand how you could pitch to me like there's no winning argument. There is no winning argument. There is in no world that Biden is better than Trump, at least to a degree that would make me consider or ignore everything that led up to Biden being the nominee to begin with. It'd be different. Trump won his nomination, no matter what you could say about him, against all the odds. He won the nomination. Biden is being handed the nomination after it was stolen away from progressives, which makes me dislike him even more for allowing himself to benefit from a fucking coup. There's not a single argument that you can make. Oh, well, what about, what's that girl's name? Stormy Daniels. And I say, what about Stormy Daniels? You want me to be upset about the potential? I mean, it's alleged. We don't know if it's real. About him paying a porn star for consensual sex? Oh, God, rich. Breaking news, everybody. Rich white guy has sex consensually with porn star and gives her money. Oh, my God. We've never heard anything like that. Nobody in DC ever sleeps with prostitutes consensually. That's not going to do anything. On top of that, it's better than this non-consensual rape that happened on Joe Biden's watch. Okay? Allegedly. You know, the one that he won't even address. But everybody kept asking Trump about Stormy Daniels over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, what are we? Come on. I haven't figured out who I'm voting for because I don't like Howie Hawkins either. I've endorsed Bernie and I'm still hoping by some miracle he's managed to sneak away with the nomination. We'll see. But at the end of the day, if it's Biden versus Trump, that's not an easy decision to make. It's I ain't gonna lie. It's for some. If you just don't care, if your whole goal is to give a middle finger to the Democratic Party, and you organize locally, and you organize around policies that you want to see in your communities locally, and you vote for those candidates, those down ticket candidates or down ballot candidates that you want to see win locally, well, then I guess it might be an easy decision for you. I give a middle finger to Trump give a middle finger to Biden, the Democratic Party over Trump, and just vote for everybody that I like in my community and vote for the policies and ballot initiatives that I want to see. It might not be that difficult of a decision. But a lot of people feel like, well, we survived 4 years of Trump. The Democratic Party didn't get any better. So I guess they're just going to have to fuck around and find out. Because they've been trying to convince us the last 4 years, oh, well, we need somebody better than Trump. We need something better. We just need something better. And then what's funny is Biden is actually antithetical to the message of the Democrats because they've been telling us we need somebody better. We need change. We need an improvement on Donald Trump. And then Joe Biden, after seeing everything that's happened over the last 3-4 years, he comes up to the podium, takes a deep breath, puts out his chest, and boldly pronounces, nothing will change in my administration, and you can bet on that. Except for that was way more coherent than Joe Biden would express, of course. So if nothing would change, you're making the decision to vote for Donald Trump for anybody even easier. Well, shit, if nothing's going to change, it's not like, what does Biden offer to make things better? What policy has he offered to make things better? There is absolutely no positive gains to be made from Joe Biden being president. If you if you're one of those who decides to elect Trump, at least you get the benefit of giving a middle finger to the Democratic establishment. Makes you feel good and warm and fuzzy inside. I might be one of the ones who might just leave it blank or write in whoever my choice would be here in Florida. Might just leave it blank. Although Florida's a swing state, I don't know if I'm okay with it swinging to Biden, so we might have to check that out. I don't know. Valdis Mosley, MSM keeps covering for the DNC. Absolutely. Mainstream media, that's what they do. That's what they do. And I appreciate that other super chat as well. Yes, please hit that thumbs up button. Now, to conclude, there is a very realistic possibility that Trump gets, that he just sweeps over Joe Biden. Very, very realistic possibility. At that point, I said this before and I'm gonna say it again in this video. At that point, I really, really hope that we get away from personality politics, that we get away from deifying these. They're politicians. They're politicians at the end of the day, no matter how much I might like Bernie, no matter how much I might like Tulsi, and I would even go as far as saying Tulsi is a friend, but our friendship is outside of politics. And we all have a responsibility to policy. We all have responsibility to movements, to the issues, because those are the things that are going to affect our lives. Those conversations are what affects our lives. The organizing done on the ground through grassroots movements are what affect our lives. Not these Bidens, not these Trumps. Is it cool when we do get someone who can actually push something that we've been fighting for? Yes, but only after we've set the parameters. Every great movement of this nation was fought and won by the people on the ground. The legislators, the politicians, and even the judiciary, they end up being forced to pass legislation, forced to overturn prejudice, legal decisions that had existed in the past, forced to eventually sign executive orders, forced to give women equal rights to men, forced to give minorities equal rights to white people, at least under the law. That was because of it was movements. It was us. And that's one thing I really, really hope we get back to once all this is said and done. I get it. We do want to give credit where credit is due. Absolutely, every time. And it's nice to have somebody who's going to fight for us. But fighting for us should not make them a deity. It should not make them untouchable. And we can't just use that when we're talking about somebody who we like or don't like. We gotta be consistent in that. Okay. River Oracle. I got some crazy names, y'all. Whoever wins this election, I believe Tulsi will hold their feet to the fire as she always has. Too bad her colleagues in Congress are cowards. Whoo! Tell me about it. Tell me about it. All right, people. About to go ahead and get up out of here. We'll be live streaming later about some other funny stuff. All right. Other than that, always remember more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.